Growing up, we're taught to go to college, get a good job, buy a house, and do all the things that ensure that we become part of the middle class. The problem with that is the middle class is struggling, and most people that are part of it are barely staying afloat. So today, I want to talk about how the black middle class is disappearing. But before I do, welcome to Black to Bitcoin, where I discuss the wealth gap and how Bitcoin is a solution to our financial problems. So if you're interested in anything dealing with our wealth, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and share, because we do need to get the word out. Okay, so first, I would like to just give you some numbers on what is considered middle class. Because when we think of middle class, it's usually an image of what it is. So certain kind of house, certain kind of cars, things like that, certain kind of attire. So we look at it in visuals, but it's not determined that way. It is determined based on a scale and what people make in the middle. So I'm going to give you the numbers that I found for a three-person household. And I think the numbers are very shocking because they're not as high as you probably think. So lower middle class is considered a household of around $56,000. For the mid-middle class, it is $113,000. And then for upper middle class, it's $179,000. So maybe the upper kind of covers it, but let's just be real. A three-person household, $56,000 is really pushing it. And I do want to just put the caveat that I understand that people are surviving on a lot less, but unfortunately, that puts them in the lower class. Okay, so I just wanted to put those numbers out there just to make it clear that we're already starting on a bad foot, because it's not really that much money for it to be the middle class. Okay, so now I'm going to go into a few points and some insights into how and why the black middle class is disappearing. So I'm going to get into it. And just a little side note, my AC is out, so I am hot. Okay, so if I'm sweating or something, that is what it is. The show must go on, all right? So I'll be looking at my notes as well, okay? Bear with me, okay? All right, so the first thing is that even though we are earning more money than ever, the wealth gap is not getting smaller. This is the biggest proof of the black middle class going down. All right. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that most wealth is considered things that are made of assets, and we don't hold as many of them. So even if someone is in the middle class, they are a lot more likely to not have assets like other people. So they may have more income coming in, but they don't have the assets that can actually build wealth. Okay, so one person's $100,000 in salary is not the same as someone else's, because assets are what makes wealth a thing. Okay, the other thing that I have is that the cost of staying middle class is rising. Housing costs, we are more likely to have debt as black people as well, and that comes for several reasons, just consumer debt, but also things as simple as getting loans and getting charged more for them, or not being approved for certain amounts and things like that. And with the houses, that is one of the few assets that we do hold, and it's also a money sucker. So having a house is definitely, and I've said this in another video, and you'll just have to agree to disagree with me, but a house is more of a liability than it really is an asset, in my opinion. So we hold an asset that takes a lot of money. Other people have more assets when it comes to stocks, even having just a business, whatever, things that are a little bit less, I don't know, expensive. Let's say that. Okay. All right. And then also with this, with the middle class being like it being harder to be in the middle class, one of the other factors of why this happens to us a lot and people don't think about it, and that is that our dynamics of family is a lot different. So black people that are in the middle class, they are often expected to take care of the rest of their family. We are way more likely to pay for our family's bills, just to be nice, quote unquote, and wanting to give back to people who took care of us. And because we don't have those assets in other forms, we are using a lot of our wealth just for family dynamics. And most people don't think about that, but it really is something that affects our wealth and makes it harder to be in the middle class because it's actually pushing you into the lower class when you're not making the same amount of money and you're not being able to use it only for yourself. And I'm not saying that that shouldn't be done. I'm just saying the reality is that taking care of family and, your mom, your cousins and all that, it is affecting your wealth and it makes it harder. All right. Oh yeah, and I also wanted to say that we have a lot of debt. So that's consumer debt, and I don't think I said this already. Sometimes I think I'm saying the same thing, but if I did, excuse me, but we also have a lot of debt. Okay, so consumer debt, housing loans, all the other things. All right, I feel like I said it, but I don't know. And the last thing that I have is and people definitely don't think about this, but we lack a head start with our wealth. Our generational wealth is hindered, and this is also involving the middle class because we're trying to obviously be in that class. And one of the things that prevents it is that we did not get the head start that other people did. All right? It's called compounding. So the way people get wealthy is the passing down of assets. We do not have that luxury most of the time. So when you're looking at someone and you hear that they have $100,000 salary versus another person who has $100,000 salary, that money is not going as far. And that house probably is more taken care of in a white family because they had funds to take care of the house a little bit more than the black person. So you're looking at the dynamics of them having a head start. And that's not only just when it comes to assets, it also is other things like businesses. Okay? If you think about McDonald's, the people who started McDonald's, okay, or whoever it was, their family is fine. Their family is benefiting from that. Okay? So them being in the middle class, the upper middle class, the upper class, which is probably more likely, obviously, if you're from the McDonald's dynasty, it's a lot easier to do, right? So a lot of times we just have that barrier. I think that's it. Okay, no. The last thing with the generational wealth thing is there are also governmental things that have held us back. So redlining, things like Black Wall Street, us not having certain programs to encourage assets, encourage home ownership, all the things. So while we may be making that salary, we're not benefiting from a lot of the things that help people maintain or get their wealth. All right, now that's it. I want to get into Bitcoin per usual because I want to talk about how Bitcoin is a huge help in securing the middle class. The first thing is that it is an asset that is easy to own and there's no real barrier. when it comes to houses or a lot of like a business that takes a lot of capital, the housing, obvious, I'm just stuttering. Obviously, that takes a down payment. You don't have those issues with Bitcoin. So it is a way to store wealth and to pass it down without the issue of needing a lot of money up front. It's also scarce. So instead of investing in a currency that is losing value all the time, the fact that Bitcoin is scarce makes it go up in value. So while inflation is happening and things are getting more expensive, we will have a currency that is going up in value, which means the cost of living will be lower, which means having that house will not feel as much of a burden as it does if you do not have a currency that is appreciating in value. So that makes Bitcoin very, very valuable in our, and I mean, middle class is one thing. I'm trying to get us to be upper class, okay? I just want to put that out there. Middle class is great, but hey, why not be wealthy? That's what I want for us. But I'm just making the point that if we have Bitcoin, it will be a lot easier to make the middle class the bare minimum, okay? And that's all I have for this. I just really do want to just sum up that things are not great, okay? When you have the middle class, which has always been like the American dream ideal, struggling, it means that we're in a lot of trouble. And a lot of the middle class citizens are being pushed into the category of lower class. So we really have to do something to counteract that. And I think that Bitcoin is a perfect way. All right. So that is it for today. Hope you found this useful. Let me know. Let me know what you think about the middle class. Have you noticed that people that you know in the middle class are struggling? Have you met people who consider themselves middle class, but they're struggling to the point where they can't even consider themselves that anymore? Like, just tell me your experiences with that, because I'm just curious, you know. But other than that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and like I said before, share. Have a good one. Bye.